Hello, beautiful people. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the very best investment that you can make in your life. And no, I'm not talking about real estate or crypto or some form of stock market investing or technical analysis and things like that. No, rather, I would say the best investment that you can make in your whole life is to invest in yourself. Now, I know a lot of you might think that that sounds like a very cliche kind of an advice, but if you bear with me for a couple of minutes, I will explain to you why, even though that might sound like a cliche advice, actually, most people don't really do that. And I will also get into a lot more detail as to how you can do it and why it makes a lot more sense than any of these other forms of investment. So first, let's look at where people actually allocate their money, in general. So one of the places in which people allocate their money is putting it in banks, in fixed deposits, or in some sort of a recurring deposit scheme or something like that. And this is probably a really, really bad investment choice that you can make, because what's happening is you end up losing more money over time through inflation than actually making any money. And this is the laziest thing that people can do in their life. And it's also a little bit fear based, because you don't really know what else to do with your money. Now, the next thing, which is very, very popular that most people do, is they end up investing in real estate. Now, this is also not a really, really good investment option if you really think about it. And let me just give you some simple calculations to kind of make this more clear to you. Suppose you had to get a house, like say an apartment that generates 50,000 rupees of rent for you per month. Now, with the current rates in India, in a place like Hyderabad or Bangalore or something like that, you probably would need to buy an apartment that costs you at least 2 crores in order to make 50,000 every month. Now, that's a huge amount of money. And likewise, if you were to think in terms of dollars, probably to have an apartment that generates about $500 of cash in a month, you would have to buy an apartment that costs you about $200,000. Now, again, as I said, that's a huge amount of money. And on top of that, you would also be paying interest rate for the home loan that you've taken. And you would kind of trap yourself in this situation where now you have to pay this money over the next 10 to 20 years of your life. And that's a very big problem, you know but that's not the only problem that is associated with investing in real estate. The other major problem with investing in real estate is that each property that you have, you also have to take care of. And that's also a huge investment of your time and energy. And then there's like maintenance costs involved, and like if some tenant comes and messes up your house, that's also a huge problem. And the other massive issue with this is that it's not a very liquid form of money, which is that you buy and sell houses very rarely. And the only liquid component is the earnings that you're making from this thing. Now, coming to something like crypto or NFTs or something like that, well, these are extremely volatile. And, well, if you do good, someday you might feel like a very rich person, but then maybe 2 months later you might have lost like 80% of your net worth, and then you suddenly feel pretty poor. But still, it's a bit more liquid in nature, and it gives you a lot more flexibility in life. But compared to all of this, if I were to say that, what do I mean by investing in yourself? Because what I want you to understand is that your most valuable asset is actually your earning potential. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, simply it's the ability of how much money you can make on the basis of your skills. And this is something that can actually be compounded, which is you can increase the amount of skills that you have, and thus you can increase your earning potential. Now, if you are like most people and you make money by trading your time and energy to an employer in order to earn a monthly salary, then of course you have a pretty strong ceiling in terms of how much money you can make and how fast you can raise it. But that is where, if you learn how to decouple the two, and if you are able to figure out how to make money by giving the world something that it values in terms of either a product or a service, and as soon as you can figure out, maybe how to even make 20, 30,000 rupees, and if you can do it one time, repeating the same thing is actually far easier than figuring out how to do the first one. And that is how you can make a lot more money in life with a lot more flexibility if what you work on is to increase your earning potential. Because if you want to make 1 lakh from the apartment example, you would probably have to buy another apartment, which is again another investment of 2 to 3 crores. But once you figured out, let's say through a service, that you can make 40,000 rupees, well, if you're servicing like 2 clients, well, it's not really that hard for you to figure out how to service 4 and 6 and 10 and 20. And in fact, as you expand your scope, you just become more and more efficient, and you can also learn how to streamline things. And the best thing about this is that even if you were to lose all your money and you were put into a new country or something like that, once you have the skills and the knowledge in your mind, you'll be able to start from scratch anywhere and still make life work for you. So I hope this was convincing enough for you. And if you have any questions, leave them for me in the comments below, and I would be happy to answer, because this is a huge topic and I've just scratched the surface. Cheers. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.